Hello and welcome to Wholehearted Success, self-love and courageous action for a business and life you love. I'm Nicole Moorey, personal success and empowerment coach, supporting the personal side of women's entrepreneurial lives. And today I'm very excited to introduce you to Ezurike-Bosse. Welcome.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Yes. So Uchechi is My Empowered Living is her company. She's a business and lifestyle strategist, author, and TV host. So today we're going to turn the tables and I'm going to be interviewing Uchechi. And I would love to hear what more she has to say around shifting your mindset, living your passion, and loving your life. So before we dive in, I would love for you to share a little bit more about yourself and the work that you do.
Yeah. So I work with a lot of business owners, and one of the biggest thing I help them do is really mindset, as you would know, is the biggest thing. And, I work with them in terms of putting strategies together. I'm a numbers person, so really helping them put their goals and financials in place. But I always find one of the biggest foundations for their success is really about having that mindset, really looking at what it is that they want to do, uncovering everything that's holding them back. Because I always say, if you have a dream and desire for your life and your business, at the same time, you have the ability to make it happen. If you're not seeing the physical manifestation of what you want, is because there's certain things blocking you. There's the cross purposes. So I really help them find out what those things are and really doing the work to break that down, alleviate it. That way, the work that we're doing with, whether it's marketing or their financials or social media, you see a bigger impact for the work that you're doing, right? So I always say it's like mindset and really the strategies and tactical action work. That's a powerful combination, because once you combine the both, then a lot of the results that you want, you see it much faster. So that's one of the biggest things I work on. So I combine both of them together. And as well, I'm an author. I have a book that I just released. And as well as I have a show on my community station on Rogers TV in Canada. It's called Empowered Living in Durham Region. So it's really about showing my community a lot of people who are just like them, that are achieving their goals, doing great things. And really the only difference between them and the people that I'm featuring is the fact that they had the ability to maintain their vision and really overcome the obstacles that came in their way. So that's what my show, it's all about it on in Canada.
Wonderful. And you're already alluding to what, your thoughts around our subject today, and that's the whole idea of wholehearted success.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear, your definition or your initial thoughts about that.
Oh yeah. I mean, wholehearted success, I think for me, really it's about doing things and being successful in things that my heart and my soul calls me to do. And it's really about waking up every day, or even just the majority of the day, because I know there's some days where you're going to be doing things that, you may not quite enjoy or love, but it's about the majority of the time doing things that are aligned with my true values. I came from a place where I was in a corporate world where lucrative salary, but I was commuting over 2 hours to do that. And I have a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. So I'm at a stage where their time is really demanding on me, right? So there's a lot of things where now I get to be where I can work from my home office. I drop them off to, that's wholehearted success for me, right? Like being able to be like today, the buses are canceled because of freezing rain morning. I can go to school and pick him up. And, my daughter's in daycare still, so I have that time, but there are limited time where I get to be there for them. And also the fact that I'm living my dreams, but at the same time, I'm helping other people being able to establish what is their success, their definition, not what everybody else thinks it is, but what that is, and then helping them achieve it. To me, that's wholehearted success, because I'm doing what I love that's aligned to my value and helping other people do what's aligned with their value as well.
Beautiful. Yes, and our stories are similar. As I hear you share your story, it's largely why I'm where I am today as well.
Yeah.
With similar family values and appreciation of having the freedom of time.
Absolutely.
And location. And so that's a fantastic segue into our topic of self-love. So when you think about your own experience and or the experiences of your clients, how important is self-love?
Oh my gosh, it's the foundation. It's one of the biggest foundation, because I find, one of the things I think, as human beings, I think we're made to search for more. Like when we get a certain goal, we're just made to always aspire to different things. But you need to have that self-love, because if not, anything that you're looking to get, anything that you're chasing, any aspirations that you have, it's just going to be empty, because you need that self-love. First of all, is that foundation, because you're doing it for yourself. So that way, as cliche as it sounds, it overpours into other areas of your life. But you need to have that self-love, because anything else that you're doing, you're constantly looking at, okay, am I good enough? I'm going to compare, my God, this person had this blog post. I think it's better than mine. Oh my God, this person has a bigger following. But it's okay. The people who are meant for me are meant for me. I love myself, and it's just where I accept where I am right now. So for me, it's so important, because then it helps you establish goals for your life and your business that's aligned to what you want. Like, not a lot of people, I know some people that are in my position that do what I do. They want to travel all over the place. They want to speak. That's not for me, because I have kids. Mm-hmm. So for me, my self-love is being able to do what I want to do that's aligned to myself, not looking at what other people are doing. And even with the acceptance is so key, because again, it's like that fine balance of really being happy with where you're at, but still have that aspiration to keep pushing towards. So I accept that I'm at a certain stage in my business. Obviously, I have goals because I'm going to reach more, but I'm still happy regardless. I'm still so proud of everything that I've accomplished and all the different people that have the ability to help over the years. So I'm happy with that, and I'm accepting of that. But at the same time, I'm still striving for more. So, but again, I think that if I wasn't content with myself and always looking for outside approval, I would not be satisfied or not be happy. Plus, I wouldn't be able to do my job effectively, because my clients would feel that there's something that wouldn't be authentic about it, and there'd be that neediness of trying to get approval. And the things that I'm doing is to be light and get approval versus really just being satisfied and just sharing the stuff in my life and different techniques that can help other people.
Beautiful. And I love that you bring up that thread of being happy now and being happy when you get to whatever your personal goal is.
Yeah, because even when we get there, there's another goal. So, let's just be satisfied, because it's going to be this vicious cycle. I mean, we left the rat race, but then we end up becoming in a different entrepreneurial rat race, in a sense, where we're chasing something else, and we never really just sit and just enjoy what we just did, right? So
yes. So for the ladies watching, maybe they're wondering, okay, well, like, what can I do right now to get myself a little bit closer to being in that place? Do you have any common tips that you suggest?
Yeah, write it down. Like, honestly, you'll be surprised. So I'll give you an example in my own life. So, even at the ending of last year, I'm just kind of like, okay, I got to do this. I got to do that. Then I sat back. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I wrote a business book based on a program that I had. I wrote my newest book, From Aspirations to Fulfillment, and I launched a planner. How did I do that? 3 things, and my book was on like a to-do list. It would have been on my 2017 goal, right? But I did all that, and my kids were home all summer. And so when I think to myself, I'm like, how did, I never even sat down. Like, honestly, all the things that I did, I never even celebrated it till I sat down. It was like ending of the year, and I always do like a reflection at a certain point in December. And when I thought about it, and especially, anybody who's a mom knows when 2 kids, a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, are home during the summer. And I'll be honest, it wasn't pretty. Like, it was like, okay, let me just write. Stop unplugging my computer. I just need to do this and send it off to my editor. It wasn't always pretty. But when I sat back and took inventory of what I accomplished, I was in shock. And I knew it for myself, right? So just the simple exercise of saying to yourself, in that last year or whatever time it is, what have I accomplished? What would I have done, right? And then, because sometimes we don't sit and celebrate it and then even acknowledge it. So just that alone, you see it on paper, and it'll be shocking of what the stuff that you've actually done, right? So I think, immediately one thing they can do is just that, because that's something that I actually did. And I was just shocked at not really celebrating it as it happened, because when I look back, I just saw how big that was for me.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
so I love those are two juicy nuggets.
Yeah.
One is to write down your accomplishments throughout the year. And then of course celebrate, because so
Yes.
many of
Yeah.
us don't take the time,
Yeah.
especially as mothers, as
Yeah.
business owners, it's just on to the next goal.
Yeah. Yeah. We never think we have time.
So that is beautiful. And just judging from your story of your past year, I can guess that you've come up against taking courageous action in your past. So I'm wondering your thoughts around that subject.
Yeah, I mean, even last year, I've done a lot. I think the two things, been asked that before, and I think the two things that always jumped out at me was that, I mean, back in 2007, my first sort of true entrepreneurship was where I opened up a wellness center. So it was a 3,000 square feet location in Toronto, and it was with my sister. And at that time, I was in a corporate role where I was growing. I was sort of seen as, the up and comer and somebody to be looked out for the next role. And we literally had enough money to open the doors. And I never suggest it to anybody, because save yourself some time where build some kind of cash flow. But it was this 3,000 square feet location. It had a gym, a spa, fitness facility. And I left and I just opened this up. And that was like a big jump for us. And even for myself, I mean, I ended up having to go back to a full-time job and start and work on it on the side. And I had some people working there full-time. And then I left again, in a couple 2015, I left again full-time again, completely. And where I thought, and even just thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, well, last time you left to do your wellness center, you had to go back for a couple years. Do you really think you can do this again? And when I had my wellness center, I didn't meet my husband. I didn't have any kids. This last time I had 2 kids, right? So, but it's one of those things where it was always the fear of not doing it was worse than what could have happened, because I'm one of those people where I've always wanted to do it. And it's just that aching feeling of having what if in me was much worse than, if I lost money and this didn't happen, I would have, because I figured to myself, you know what, I could figure it out. I have such a great corporate role experience that I can always go back like I did before, right? So I just thought, for me, the fear of actually not doing it was much worse. So, and for me, and what I've found in my life is, if you want to achieve big things, there's got to be a level of a big jump that you have to do as well. And you have to do it, right? So, and it's taking that calculated cost where, I also had some times where I said, okay, maybe have 3-4 months of living expenses covered. That way do it. So I'm not just so freaking out about money right away, but it was something that I had to do. And I did it 2 times, where one time for my, the wellness center, which was huge for me. But back then I'm like, oh, I was much younger and had no kids. But then the second time I had 2 kids. So that, to be honest, that was a little bit more fearful for me, only because at this stage I had 2 kids to worry about, and I have my husband, but still, we depended on income coming from me as well. So that was a risk. But for me, it's one of those things where it's looking at the long-term fact and saying, to be a good mom, I have to lead by example, and I couldn't be miserable. And again, I was commuting 2-3 hours, and I was coming home and I was miserable. Like I didn't have time to play with my kids. It was just, they would come and I'm just like, oh, mommy's tired. And I remember I was like, what am I doing? And yes, the money was great, and it was a high profile role, but look, playing with my kids became a chore. That was my no. That's like, whatever happened, it can't be worse than me not being able to be a good mom and actually feeling good about myself. I was feeling so guilty about the way I was being with my kids, right? So, but that, it was a big jump. But looking at the potential risk of continuing where I was continuing, and also the potential rewards for doing it, made up for it and made that decision a little bit more easier, and I had more courage to do it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I love how you had the courage to listen to yourself, when
Yes.
when you noticed playing with your kids was a chore, and you noticed that was like not acceptable to you.
Yeah.
So it's, that's a huge takeaway, is that we need to get used to listening to ourselves and the truth of what we want, and then taking the courage to act on it and, adjust, find the resources to improve your situation. Yeah. And also I love I love when you said the fear of not doing it was worse than the worst case scenario of doing it.
Yeah.
That is brilliant.
Yeah, I know. Like when I thought about it, I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, I could continue this role. And to be honest, too, I remember seeing some really senior leaders in the company where it was always about, they couldn't be there for their kids. There was just a lot of stuff where I'm like, I could not be on, because that was my path. That was my path. I could have done, I would have made great money, don't get me wrong. But my path would have been like only 2-3 weeks out of the year that I could really dedicate with my kids. I was working like first thing in the morning, coming back late at night. And that was a path, right? And although, like I said, the money would have been great, but money's not the benchmark of everything, right? So then I thought to myself, yes, there's especially when I had to leave the second time, I remember the struggle of when I left the first time, because I did have to go back to a full-time job to help sustain in the beginning. Because when I launched, it was like 2007, 2008, the biggest recession my generation has ever seen. So it was tough, right? But we got through it and it grew, and we actually ended up selling it because I wanted to be home and do something from the house. But that was really clear to me where that struggle. But I remember, again, when I was coming home and just, like I said, it became a chore, and I was just kind of like so exhausted with my son, because I didn't have my daughter at the time. That's when I knew I couldn't. And I always say, like, we always get that little nudges. Mm-hmm. And when we don't listen, okay, it's a little bit of a hit. And when we don't, I think I got this from Oprah. Then when you don't listen, then you get that brick upside your head where it causes you, and it could have been an illness or something, but causes you to stop. So I had to make sure that, I listened before I got the brick in my head.
Yeah. And clearly, you're coming from the business coach angle, but the exact same thing is true from my angle with the personal side of your life. Yeah. It's just noticing those little nudges from the universe and then taking action.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this time has flown by, but
already.
Yeah, it's been great. I could talk to you for a long time. I could tell we're on the same wavelength. But before I let you go, I would love to hear what passion project you're working on, or anything else you want to share with the viewers before we go.
Yeah, my two biggest thing, I have my planners that I have out. It was called Dream Life Designer Planner. It came about where I'm a planner junkie and I love planners, but I never really saw one that I loved. So being me, people always say that, I created my own. So it's really, my biggest thing with my planner was the fact that if you couldn't afford a coach or have a coach, this is something that can keep you accountable. Yeah. So every month there's reflection questions. Every week there's, goal setting and affirmations and stuff. So I have that on my website. And then my other passion project is my book, From Aspirations to Fulfillment, bridging the gap from where you are to where you want to be. So this is was something that was on my to-do list for the past 3 years. And to be honest, if I didn't really commit full out last year, it would have been on my to-do list for 2017. But it's really a book that a lot of my personal tools that I use, things that I've researched, things that have worked for my clients. Really, if you want that desire and goal, what are the steps? What do you need to do? And also dealing with all that resistance that comes up, which we all know too well, that happens when you start going towards your goals. So this book is really to help inspire you to push towards a resistance, and actually gives you tools to deal with these resistance, and actually just start going from just aspiring to something to actually living it. So that's my goal. From reading this book, you'll go from just aspiring to actually fulfilling your greatest dreams. So
wonderful. I'm a voracious reader, so I'll have to check it out myself. And, I'll be glad to post the links to your website in this email so that the viewers can connect with you and learn more. And thank you so much again for joining me and sharing wisdom and Wholehearted Success. Yeah, it's been wonderful.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. And on behalf of Yuchechi and myself, we would like to wish all of you wholehearted success in your business and your lives. Bye for now.
Mm-hmm.